YouTube? I'm back. So, as you can see, I gave you back-to-back episodes of Sex Game. Now, that'll probably be a while before I come back to that type of content. Because by the time we get to September, it'll be Smash Mouth football, and that's when I'll probably predict football games, who's going to win, who's going to make it to the NFL playoffs. I'll probably be doing, potential playoff matchup series. Something completely new. I'll probably do that on a sports channel. Because YouTube loves to put at the bottom of the comment section, be respectful to comments. Because somebody likes to get angry and upset because the videos I make get you guys divided attention, and you guys love these videos and you support these videos. Don't worry, I'm going to make another YouTube video called Jealous YouTubers. And what's the difference between jealous YouTubers and people who watch your videos that be jealous and player hating? Because they love to player hate on stuff they do not understand. Because if they had an understanding of it, they wouldn't be a player hater. Which I actually think is kind of funny. Now, it's time to bring in Season 3 of my new music series. First episode is going to be the late, great, legendary Nipsey Hussle versus Snoop Dogg. I'm going to say it again. This is Season 3 of my Versus series in music. Nipsey Hussle versus Snoop Dogg. And in the description is going to be called Who Ride the Crip Nation the Hardest? Hey, it's my music series, Season 3. Every now and then I do basketball and football. I do sports. And then I try to break it off and be very conventional, unpredictable, very fun and exciting. And that will be music, because a lot of people are into the music. A lot of people are into the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, the late 2000s, and who knows, I might make maybe 5, maybe 10 episodes. We don't want to make too many episodes now, because even if people watch these videos, they can get bored after the 5th or the 6th or even the 7th episode. They can get bored of it. So I'm going to try to see if I can narrow it down to just 8 or 9 episodes. 10 is if I see everybody likes it. Too many videos, people just lose interest that fast. So these types of things are supposed to be like a series that lasts a season, and then that's it. You move on to the next thing. That's a series. Now, Nipsey Hussle got his rap star career in 2005. Now, he actually did music. He actually did some mixtapes 2001 to 2004, but those were underground rap mixtapes. Those were him talking about the hood and how he used to gang bang and, ride up on somebody's hood and shoot their hood up. And basically, he's very charismatic. Now, I'll let you on a little secret. I actually got to see the man 3 times. The first 2 times I saw Nipsey Hussle, it was way before he even became rich and famous. Those television shows they have on cable where they say before someone becomes rich and famous? Well, there was a lot of people that I met in my 12 years before I got big on YouTube, or before I went to the Grove, or before I went to any place. I saw Nipsey Hussle twice before he became rich and famous. My experience was I was outside like I am right now at this house, and I didn't want to believe it at first, but there was a man across the street who used to be a music producer. God rest his soul, Charlie Richard Kaysen. We used to call him Richard. And he was a music producer. And everybody from, I think, 54th Street to 58th Street would come on this block to try to become a rap artist, because they found out that Richard was a music producer. Richard had did great song. Had did, I think, Ray Charles's album. I think Ray Charles at this point, it was the 1990s, and Ray Charles had already done like 4 or 5, maybe 6 albums into his career, and he needed to make a new sound of music, and Richard kind of provided that new sound and Ray Charles's album. Now, this is like 30 years ago, for Richard Casey. It was like 30 years ago. But back when he was alive, he did songs for Ray Charles. He almost got recruited to Death Row Records to replace Dr. Dre when Dr. Dre had a fallout with Suge Knight and left. He told me the story on how he got recruited, and he had to turn Suge Knight down because he didn't like the negative element that Suge had. I mean, he gave Suge his respect for being the only man that can get Crips and Bloods together. And the first time I saw Nipsey Hussle was on 57th Street, which I live on. He was on a bike. You know, he had big, I wouldn't call it a big giant fro, but his hair was out like Snoop Dogg. And at the time, he was nodding his head to some Snoop Dogg. And he was on a bicycle. You know, the Crip bicycle that Jody from Baby Boy had? Well, he had one of those bikes. Which, no surprise, he was actually watching that movie on a digital camera phone before they had those phones that we have today. He was watching that, and it was a next door neighbor who also was trying to become a rap artist. And, you know, he walked up and saw me wearing an Allen Iverson Philadelphia 76 jersey. This is like 12 years ago. And, you know, he thought I was a rival gang member. And homeboy had to tell him, nah, he's good people, man. He like basketball. He like Allen Iverson, you know. He liked them Philadelphia 76ers. So when he saw that, he kind of like, all right, Allen Iverson, represent Philly, okay. The second time he saw me, I had my hair braided up wearing that same 76ers jersey. And then he found out that I went to Westchester High School, which I never told him that. And next door neighbor like, yeah, he go to Westchester where they got the, well, you two don't like when I like to say the bitches and the hoes because it's disrespectful. So we'll say, well, you get to see the finest women at. Let's just put it that way, the finest women. And when he did that, it was a shock. Like, it was an actual shock. That's the first two times I saw him before he got rich and famous. The last and final time that I saw him was 3 years ago, prior to the incident. Because I had a fallout with my hair barber. My barber was charging me $20 a haircut. It was supposed to be between $12 to $15 a haircut, but he wanted to rip me off $5 more and charge me $20 because I always had trouble catching the bus and then get a haircut, and he wanted to charge me $20. And told me the only reason why I would give you, let's charge you $15 and give you $5 back was because of your financial situation. And I'm looking at him like, dude, I need to travel, and travel costs money. And he was like, well, I got a wife and 2 kids, and providing a family costs money. And I went, they both cost money, but by the end of the day, they don't mean you're more better than me because you're a barber. So we had a fallout, and I didn't want to talk to him ever again. So I basically said, all right, after being here for like 5 years and some 4 months, bye-bye, see you later, we'll never do business with you ever again. And I've stuck to that. I stuck to my conviction. There might have been maybe 2 or 3 more times where I had to help someone else get a haircut and I saw him, and he kind of looked at me funny, looking sideways, because I weren't doing business with him no more. I was like, hey, you missed that money, huh? Paybacks, what. I can't cuss on here, but, paybacks, what. And I went to a haircut place that he soon would buy and purchase. And I went inside there to get a haircut, and right when he had Marathon, he popped out of there, him and 3 other known Crip associates, and they saw me get a haircut. When I came out, I thought he was going to bang on me. And then he remembered my face from the first time and the second time he saw me, and he was proud that I got a haircut from a black man and not from someone else. So that was when he was Nipsey Hussle. And I wasn't sure if he was going to, give me some dabs, roll up on me and bang on me. But when I saw he was giving the smile, that's what I'm talking about, black man. Get a haircut from a black man, you know what I'm saying? Represent. He wasn't saying it with his mouth. He was saying it with his body language and his facial expressions and his mannerisms. So when they say a real alpha male, yeah, Nipsey Hussle most definitely was the alpha male of the hood. like an actual real alpha male, not those cheap generic knockoffs that you see in these movies and these television shows. He was actually the real thing. You know, he stood by his principles and his conviction. Now, he started his rap career in 2005 all the way to 2019 doing mixtapes. Now, one of the mixtapes got the attention of an executive music producer, and he put a fully fledged album together. And right off the bat, it drew huge comparisons to Snoop Dogg. I remember going to the Crenshaw Mall when they had a bookstore before they got rid of the bookstore, and he was on the front cover of that magazine. And they was talking about the next Snoop Dogg or the next Tupac or something like that. It was either King Magazine or Hustler Magazine, one of those magazines. And come to find out, that same day that I walked out, it was a bunch of people handing out, you know, studio copy CDs of his mixtape, but on a CD. I got one, my friend got one, and surprise, surprise, I listened to 2 or 3 songs. And then he had the breakout rap song that's been playing for years. Dedication, motivation, dedication. No man coming to bank for my recreations. You know the lyrics of the rap song. And when he did it, he blew up. I mean, he put out his first album. Then he put out a second album. He put out like 2 albums in 1 year. Then he put out a year number 2, he put out his second album. And then 3 years later, he has 3 albums out. And again, the comparisons was obvious. Then he would pop up and do songs with Drake. He would do songs with Kendrick Lamar. He would do songs with Trey Songz. He would do songs with Snoop Dogg. You know, he would do song with The Game. Every time you turn around, he popped up on somebody's album. And then he did something that only a few rappers can dream of doing in their rap career. This man turned around and produced 1,000 copies and made $100 million in less than 24 hours of doing so. And the last rap artist that we can think of that either got to that number or was aiming in striking distance of that number was the late, great Tupac Shakur. You don't believe me, you just look at Tupac's track record. Tupac would do that. 2 albums in 1 year. Turn around a year later, there's another Tupac album. He was doing that. And then the stuff he rapped about drew heavy influences and comparisons to Snoop Dogg, and most especially Tupac. He would rap in the hood. He would pop up on Crenshaw. He'd pop up in Inglewood and do a rap video. And to see him do that was like, he's real. He's not these corporate puppets that say, yeah, I'm from the street, but then he in the studio rapping about the street. He be in the street rapping about the street. And then to go into another territory, which you go into a blood neighborhood and make a rap video, was amazing. And then to have The Game pop up, the show that he cool with every hood, was again, he's breaking ground in modern day society when no one suspects. And then he pops up on television shows that you would have to be a senator or a Republican or a Democrat to even get to that magnitude of that level. He was doing it less than 5 years. Like, he would pop up on CNN. He would pop up on Oprah Winfrey. He would pop up on all these shows, and you could see that he could also speak intelligently about politics. Who should be president, who should run for president, who should not. So if he had to get political, and I have a word for it, gangster political, he would get gangster political on you and show you what he was about. Now, I didn't start listening to some of his rap music until like it was 2008, 2009. You know, people driving up the neighborhood, blasting his music. And then, of course, I like his video dedication, because he talking about how you need to get off your butt and work your butt off and self-improve if you want to get more money and stop depending on people to help you get somewhere. So I liked that song. And then, of course, people were making... I remember when we got to 2012, he became the most influential rapper of his era. And I remember there was an article saying, is he the next Tupac? Is he the second coming of Tupac? And I kind of went in my head like, after what I've seen him do, I would say yes. You know, he created his own stores. He took the concept of Tupac's ideas and Tupac's albums and made them a reality. Tupac talked about black-owned business. Here go Nipsey Hussle making black-owned business. Tupac talk about how society would put you in a box as soon as you asked too many questions. Nipsey Hussle started taking that concept of Tupac and ran with it and got successful. He found out very fast, very quick what Tupac meant by, as soon as you get famous, that's when it all starts. You know, he did songs with everyone on the West Coast, the East Coast, the North, the South. And by the time it was 2014, he had already done 4 albums and was already working on album number 5. The stuff he rap about, he just happened to have a business. The Marathon 2, Marathon 3. You'd be like, man, he names a store. And he raps about the store that he named the store of. You're like, he was doing some creative stuff. Like, he was, if anybody was bringing rap music back from the dead, Nipsey Hussle was the one that was bringing true rap music back from the dead. Like all this new 2000 mess. I was listening to music less and less and less because I didn't like none of the new stuff they were putting out. And here he comes and bring in some of the 1980s and the 90s and remind you what made you like music in the first place. And then to have him do songs with the great Snoop Dogg. Again, he breaks ground. And then they have Snoop look at Nipsey Hussle like, back in the 80s and 90s, had I done what you done, I would have been on this level a long time ago. And then he crosses over, he does the music videos, you know, he pop up in some movies, some TV shows here and there. And then he gets, a Grammy. You know, he gets onto that level. And then everybody wants to hear what he has to say. And it's like he was getting to that Eazy-E level, where Eazy-E would talk about politics in the last part of his rap career up to his death, and talk about how he could see behind the scenes, how they would masquerade certain things, who's popular, who's in demand, who's not. He was getting on to that Eazy-E level. And you could see that this guy had no signs of slowing down. And then, of course, we got to 2017, and he was now in talks of talking to the police to make things more better. And by the time we got to 2018, Jay-Z came in and kind of, saw an opportunity with that, and, that's what delayed that album. Because Jay-Z was trying to hook up with the man and, do business with the man. And then by 2019, he was expanding his business. And then tragedy befalled. And now he's immortalized. And now, when you think about it, and you go back to his songs, in a way, you pretty much want to say he, in fact, is the second coming of Tupac Shakur. Now, let's get with Snoop Dogg, a.k.a. the Dogg Father. Snoop Dogg got his rise to fame in 1991. On the street corners of just freestyle rapping with Warren G and Nate Dogg, Das and Corrupt, hood legends. And got discovered, and Warren G went to Dr. Dre and said, yo, Dre, you gotta hear this young kid. He 19 going on 20, selling, that dope, and he can rap like ain't no one's business. You know how Dre's that right? Is that right, Warren G? Well, bring him in the studios. I'm Dr. Dre. Yeah, I know, poor acting imitation. And next you know, Snoop, came in the studio, and Dre said, I'm going to put this track on, and you going to smoke this track. All right, go on, put it on then, Dre. Let's do this, Dre, cuz. Folk to the 5, Snoop Doggy Dogg in the back in the house. Ain't nothing but a G-Jane. Death Row is the label that pays me. You know that rap song. And chill. Next time to the next episode. Then came Gin and Juice. Then came Murder. Murder was the case that they gave me. All of a sudden, here come these hits. Snoop Dogg, Doggy Dogg. Them came them songs. And right when Snoop got onto his rise, all of a sudden tragedy befell him too. You know, he coming out of an apartment with his bodyguard and some blood roll up on him and try to shoot him out of jealousy of his fame. And then Snoop got his name smeared in campaigns, political. I think either Maxine Waters, Maxine Waters, and I think there was another lady that was not happy with Snoop Dogg and the way he would degrade women in videos. Him, Ice-T, Ice Cube, Tupac, Eazy-E, they were all being slammed in the media back then to the point where they were making it seem like that they were all responsible for all the gang violence that were taking place in Los Angeles. And Snoop had to go to court, which kind of hurt his popularity because, you know, for him to have to go to court and then for him to have to witness in newspapers and on the radio, people stepping on his albums, and Snoop couldn't believe that his fans were turning on him. And the turning point is when he got a cop a plea when he went to the Source Awards, when he came with that Crip bicycle, same Crip bicycle that Nipsey Hussle rode, and made that infamous speech to this day. The East Coast don't like Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre and Death Row Records? Then let it be known. And they did not like that when by 93, 94 made a diss. You know, New York came in there talking about LA, the city, the dreams. Snoop didn't like that, so Snoop made a diss to New York. And right in the middle of that, it caused the West Coast, East Coast beef. You know, because it was Tupac versus Biggie. You know, Snoop didn't like what he heard. And Snoop tried to, try to be peacemaker. And, that caused the rip between him and Tupac. And then by 99, Snoop left once he saw that there's Tupac gone, Daz and Corrupt gone, and there was no Dr. Dre, so he signed with Master P, No Limit Records, and had to reinvent himself. And a lot of people don't realize Snoop lost millions of dollars because Suge had licensed the rights to his name of his music. And he had to learn how to be a businessman with Master P. And Snoop would put out his 3 to 4 albums in 4 years. And this is when Snoop started doing, the porn, the entertainment, rap music and porn. Snoop tried to recreate himself that way. Snoop would get into the movies, television shows. Remember those movies with No Limit? Snoop would get into those. And then by 2001, Snoop got with the Dogg Pound and hooked back up with Dr. Dre. Now here's where by 2003, Snoop really invented himself. Snoop Dogg, Esco Yo Double D-O-G, Sizzle My Nizzle. Then he started doing character impersonations of himself. And then there's my one, G, Gold Flea with the Gold Flea Tyler. And then my heat goes boom. Boom, boom, and then he messed with Lil Jon and made Step Your Game Up. And then he made Sexual Eruption. Those were some good Snoop songs. And then it seemed like he took a nosedive in 2009. It's like the more he kept trying to make himself more popular than what he already was, it seemed like the fans would just get more turned off each time he tried way too hard. Like, he hooked up with Jamie Foxx and made a jingle rap song, which kind of got everyone's attention. And then after that, people just lost interest. And you can see the fallout. 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012. He makes Black and Yellow to try to jumpstart his rap career. And you could see people kind of go, he ain't the same Snoop Dogg of old. Like, the sound of music have changed 8 times in 15, 16 years. Snoop doing more movies and television, more commercials. and less of that bravado that he was. They had to make a commercial of him being the old Snoop Dogg to try to get fans to say he's still Snoop. You know, he had his own clothing line, things of that nature. Now, in their prime, in the very beginning, I always say the Snoop in his prime would be able to contest Nipsey Hussle to a certain point. But the Nipsey Hussle that was all the way into his prime, all the way up until tragedy befell, would beat Snoop 5 out of 10 times. And I'm sure Snoop would probably agree with this result, 5 out of 10. Meaning, in the beginning, Snoop will have him, and then towards the second and the third verse, Nipsey Hussle will turn it up, not 1 gear, not 2, not 3. Yes, I'm doing the LeBron James, but turn it up to 5 gears and just finish you off the track. I mean, the way he would come in as a lyricist, the way he would rhyme, the way he would just cut the verse, the way he rapped the verse, freestyle the verse. You name the style, Nipsey Hussle would do it. He could have his eyes closed and out-rap you. That's how hard he was. So, who really ride the crib side hard? Who really was doing it in their prime? So, I would say by 2 slight edge hairs, Nipsey Hussle, I say by 2 slight hairs, he's going to edge out and beat the late, great legend Snoop Dogg. So your winner is Nipsey Hussle. Yeah, I know this was a bit of a long video. It's Season 3, Episode 1 of my music series. Peace.